I thought it was a good race.
And I'm glad I wasn't on the rule committee yesterday. You'd have liked to have been, wouldn't you?
I would have liked to have been there.
Yeah, that's your style.
And everybody wants to talk about and use the word manipulation, and that's fine. They can use it.
That's a big word.
That's a big word. Big word. We didn't learn that in Randolph County, but that's a big word. There is no rule, and you said it before. That's the rule.
Yep.
There is no rule in the rule book against manufacturers having input with teams. There is a rule that you can't ride the wall.
And
it's
he
in
rode
there.
the wall.
And he rode the wall. I've criticized Ryan Blaney with the best of them, but he drove maybe one of the best races I've ever seen drive yesterday, and with his back against the wall.
Here you are at the Petty Museum in Level Cross.
Yep.
Don't be nervous. I'll cover for you.
I'm a nervous wreck. Thank you for having me on your show. Thank you for having me on your show.
Okay, you was with me most of the day.
Yep.
We was in two different locations.
Yep.
Watching the race. Big day for the Petty family.
Yes, it was.
Before the race, and it kind of tells us what it takes to put a race on that we don't normally see.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
So we had a big day. I'll start with us because it was my dad and Sharon and Lisa and Rebecca, and then all the nieces and nephews, and then all the grandkids and all the great grandkids.
Can you name them all?
No, I can't name them all. I had a seating chart for where they were going to stand, but the cool part was then we all got to say, gentlemen, start your engines, or drivers, start your engines, because you're not allowed to say gentlemen anymore. I don't know what the reason is, but drivers, start your engine. But the funny part is, and you know it, from Clay Earls, who was there forever, and then Clay Campbell grew up there,
boy.
and then Clay, they're like part of the family.
We seen him grow up, or
yeah,
I did.
Yeah, y'all did see him grow up, because y'all would go up there and test and stuff, and he would come out. He was mowing then.
Yeah, okay.
Now he runs everything, but he was mowing. But that was a cool thing. But back to the race part, I thought it was a good race. I thought it was as good a race as we've seen in a while.
And we had a good location to start with, coming off of 4. I didn't realize there's that much noise, Kyle.
Loud, isn't it?
I took my hearing aids out, and they knocked my eardrums out, and they finally brought me some earplugs, and then they took me and Richard to Clay Campbell's suite, and it's a different view.
Yep.
And then you showed up.
And it's quiet. And
it's quieter. And there's food, but I didn't eat. And Richard eat hot dogs with nothing but the weenie.
Yeah,
that's him.
That's him.
But it turned out, the Final Four.
Yep.
Used big in basketball.
Yep.
And it just stood up that's what it was about.
Yeah, that's all that race was about.
And then it was about the last place in the Final Four. So me and Richard left a little bit before it was over, and we listened to it on the radio, and they described it very good.
Yep.
They done a good job, because the winner was out there and he was going to advance, and then the last place in the playoff was at stake. And then that's the big controversy.
That's the controversy.
And then I come home and watched it on television. I mean, I taped it so I could go through it fast. And I'm going to commend the announcers. They done it on the radio, and then, of course, the television too. So, and I'm glad I wasn't on the rule committee yesterday. You'd have liked to have been, wouldn't you?
I would have liked to have been there.
Yeah, that's your style. I don't know, Kyle. It's a rule, and it really affected the factories.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, but you said it right there. It's the rule.
It's the rule.
It's the rule. Okay, and everybody listening to the comments yesterday on the radio when it was over with, and then all the stuff that's been on social media, and then all the stuff on Sirius Radio and stuff this morning. It is, and everybody wants to talk about and use the word manipulation. Okay. And that's fine. They can use it.
That's a big word.
That's a big word. Big word. We didn't learn that in Randolph County, but that's a big word. But everybody wants to use it. But here's the thing: it is you had from the other camp, from the Chevy camp. If we're going to talk about Trackhouse Racing and Richard Childress and then we talk about Hendrick, those are 3 totally separate teams.
Exactly.
3 totally separate teams. The only thing that ties them together is Chevrolet. If we talk about 2311 and Joe Gibbs, 2 totally separate teams, the only thing that ties them together is Toyota. So basically you're saying that the manufacturers, and fans are complaining, that the manufacturers manipulated the outcome of the race and the sport. Well, you can't say that really, because they've been doing it for years. They do it at Daytona and Talladega when they say all the Chevys pit together, all the Fords pit together, all the Toyotas. They manipulate the teams into making them do. So if you want to use that word that way, that's okay. But that's not, there is no rule, and you said it before, that's the rule.
Yep.
There is no rule in the rule book against manufacturers having input with teams. There's just no, there's not a rule in the rule book. There is a rule that you can't ride the wall. There's a rule.
And he rode the wall.
And he rode the wall. And here's the thing, and we were talking about before, if I blow a tire at Charlotte going into turn 1 and hit the outside wall, or if I get loose and get up into the outside wall, caution's going to come out, and I'm slowing down as I grind on the wall around the corner.
And you got nothing to gain.
And got nothing to gain. Christopher Bell got loose getting in the corner, got up next to the wall, and gassed her up and drove it on back to the house.
Had to.
Yes, and that's what the data and the investigation showed. That's why they waited so long, because that's what he did. And that's against the rules. So that's a hard fast. That was an easy call yesterday. That was black and white. So we can say what we want to, and they can argue about the manipulation or the other stuff. That's for another day and another time.
You're using that big word.
Yeah, it's not going to affect this race. Okay. It's not.
But you also, we was talking before this, Kyle, you brought up, if this had happened at it wouldn't have happened like that at the first race at Martinsville or anywhere.
If it would have happened, let's use Martinsville as an example. If they had run the exact same race, if it played out exactly the same, right down to the last few laps, nobody in the grandstands, not a TV announcer, not a radio announcer would have ever called out the 1, the 3, or the 23, said anything about they would have just thought, man, those guys just can't get around that 24 car. Man, that 23 car, what bad luck.
But they wouldn't have been blocking then.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been called blocking. That's what I'm saying. So it is that everything come together at this one moment.
Yeah, and it just brings more drama what's coming up. But let's get back to what the 12 car had to do to get in.
Yeah. So I'll say this. I think, and listen, I've criticized Ryan Blaney with the best of them, but he drove maybe one of the best races I've ever seen him drive yesterday, and with his back against the wall.
Exactly.
And he did something. They had to make something happen. And if you go back to it and go back to the year, and we look at the year and say they've run 35 races, that's probably one of the top 3 or 4 races that anybody has driven all year long, because he stayed out of trouble, kept his nose clean, passed people when he got to them, moved people when he needed to move them. I thought he drove. I thought that's his performance is overshadowed by the controversy.
Yeah,
and he was beat when it was over with. When you listened to his voice on the radio and then you saw him in victory lane, I mean, he gave it. They want to talk about 100% rule. He gave 110.
Yeah, ain't no question about that. But at one time it looked like, okay, here the 19 car sat on the pole, and just took off and led, and then he made a mistake on pit road and got him way behind, and he never was a factor. Then the 6 car was a good car.
6 car was a good car. 6 car surprised me, and Brad surprised me.
That surprised me, and they had to follow the 11 car all day because he started behind, and he made a gallant chase for it. And then the 9 car was good too.
Yeah, the 9 car was good. So everybody who had to run good ran good. The 9, the 11, the 5 ran pretty decent. He didn't run great, but he ran pretty decent. So all those guys that were below the cut line, if you look going in, Denny, Chase, all of them run good, except Christopher Bell.
Exactly.
And he run like a bucket of you know what. I'm just telling you, he just run he run terrible. So you want to blame everything on everything that happened at the last lap. Just run better during the race. Just put yourself in a better place.
But you say the disappointing car, I guess, was the 20 car.
20 car, yeah.
Okay, but I was surprised that the 54 run as bad as he did, and the 45.
And the 45. I was surprised the 45 run as bad as he run. But I say this, and to everybody that watches what y'all do and all this stuff is, yesterday's the perfect example. If you're the 9 or the 11 or the 5, and you're trying to gain points.
You got nothing to lose.
You can't gain points when everybody runs in the top 5.
I get that.
Yeah, you have a great day. They're like, oh, my driver had a great day. Why didn't he move up in points?
Yeah.
Because the guys he was racing with finished right with him.
But, I wish these cars could have run better, but they didn't, And
when's the last time those cars run good?
It's been a pretty good while.
Okay.
All right,
and just checking.
We got to quit blaming the manufacturer change on it too, but we need to step up, and they're making changes, and
they're trying. They are trying.
Yeah,
they are trying. Bobby's doing a good job. You got to get your hands for when you make changes like y'all have made at Legacy, and you bring and people come in. You can't just expect an overnight change. You know how that is. You got to give people time.
Well, I remember in '78 we changed manufacturers in the middle of the season from a Charger or a Magnum. Was that the name of the car? What a terrible car to a Chevrolet.
Here's what I remember. That was not, people don't, and it's not that big a deal. It is a big deal, don't get me wrong. But I looked at that, and that you changed manufacturers, but you changed body styles.
Chassis,
went from torsion bars and leaf springs to coil springs. I mean, you changed. It was a totally different animal. So now at least all these cars are the same. You're just changing body panels.
And at the same time, I was trying to help raise you. That was.
Man, I broke training a long time ago. You know that.
Okay, going into homes. Phoenix. Okay.
Yep.
Keep me straight.
I'm trying. Been trying for 60 years.
Let me tell my story.
Nope, we're not. This is for another time.
The guy that won the last race is always the greatest driver in the world. So
always.
Blaney won it last year by running second.
Yep.
And couldn't pass the one car.
Yep.
Am I correct?
That's right.
And he complained about it, but
that's all right. You can complain. When you're a champion, you can complain about stuff.
Yeah, the one car didn't do nothing wrong.
Nope.
So, if I had to pick a car, I'd pick Blaney right now.
Yeah. So, here's what I'm going to say, and that's good because you got Blaney, and you got Joey, and then you've got Tyler and William, and so William Byron. So here's who I pick. Okay. And I say this every week. If you put Joey Logano in the first 2 rows on a green-white checker, he's going to win the race for you. I mean, he just goes to a different place.
Yeah.
He just reaches deeper and goes to a different place. And Tyler's a little bit that way. He's got a little bit of that in him. You get him close, he steps up. But I think the guy that's going in that's the most underrated is the guy that just barely got in, is William Byron. I think those guys are. I think he's the most underrated, the one that nobody's paying attention to, and he had a good first part of the season. Not been as strong, but he's been consistent. So I say that I'm going to go with William. I think.
Okay.
I know I'm way out in left field for you.
I'm going to take 4 of them.
Take 4 of them. I'm going to go with William. I'm going to go with William.
Okay, so no, it'll be interesting,
Yep.
and it all. The thing about it, I think I brought it up on one of the shows I wish maybe the champion could run about 30th.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. Yeah, if he just run 30th and we just had the ceremony before the race was even halfway point,
and see how the radio and the television see how they
that'd be good.
How they made that.
You just
up,
want to mess up everything. You got a little bit of Kyle Petty in you.
Golly, I hope not. Okay, bud. We'll wait and see what happens next week. Are you going to Phoenix?
I'm going to Phoenix, and I'm sure you'll never let me be on this show again. But thank you for having me.
I'm sure that.
I know.
I hope you enjoyed it. But we've already sent Richard out to take care of us at different places, and he'll be in Phoenix, and I'll be on my couch. No, I'll be in my recliner watching on television, and I'll stay awake for sure.
We were talking last night, so I'm going to throw this one at you.
You and your daddy?
Yeah, yep. My dad and I were talking last night on the couch, and he brought up a couple of things. He brought up 1956 when Herb Thomas and Buck were running for the championship, and they added a race so that Buck would win the championship.
But that team,
Kiefer paid to have another race added.
But the thing about it, one of his cars wrecked Herb Thomas.
Yep.
I was over there that night.
One of Keith Caper's cars wrecked Herb Thomas, took him out, and then they ran an extra race so that Buck could catch Herb Thomas in the championship and win the championships in '76. Is that manipulation?
But the thing about that,
I don't know.
But the thing about that, Herb had run for Keith Caper and got tired of him. Was running his own car and was going to win the championship.
Going to win the championship, racing against him. Now let's go back to, and I brought this one up. So let's go. Let's go back to 1979, and we go into Ontario, and you guys are Daddy and Darryl are racing, and I go out and run the Caprice. That was not a race we were going to run, but I go out and run the Caprice, and they bring Ivan Baldwin. Yeah. So they bring an extra car, and they brought an extra car for points, to take points away, and if you needed a caution. And you knew I was good for a caution once or twice during a race. You knew that before you even got out there. Once or twice. Yeah.
I believe I ain't got enough.
So is that manipulation? You know what I mean? And then we go back, and even when Jeff Gordon was racing for his first championship, Rick would drag an extra car to the racetrack every now and then to take points away, and that towards the end of it, to try to take points away from people. So I think when you look at it, there's always been some form of plan B. I won't call it manipulation, but plan B. But again, and I pose this back to the person who's asking the question is, would you know manipulation if you saw it? Because I don't think you would know it, to be totally honest with you, because if you watched that race, again, if the people weren't telling you what you were looking at and explaining it to you, would you, as a race fan, know that anything was happening?
But it only happens late in the season.
Yeah, late in the season.
When it's noticed.
When it's noticed.
Okay.
But those points are just as important.
I get that.
5 races.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So let me ask. I'll ask Dale this: How many? So y'all won 7 championships here. How many different point systems?
Man, I don't know.
Yeah,
we just played it according to what the
rules were.
What the rules were
That's
that
right.
day, and you went along with it.
Yeah. So
if you led a lap, you got 5 points.
Yeah, you got 5 points. That's right.
And that helped us at Ontario.
That helped.
Time.
That's right. Led a lap, you got 5 points. Led the most laps, you got points. And I mean, there were different bonuses in there. Here's the thing.
And if you led the most laps, I'm betting in on you.
And I'm gonna say this again to race fans: you can whine and moan all you want to, but everybody knew rolling into Daytona what the point system was. Everybody knew what the playoffs were. Everybody knew what the rules were. So you can whine all year long, whine all you want to, call whoever you want to. That's the rules we play under. My point is, if you talk to Daddy and them, he won the championship under 4 or 5 different point systems. Right. Under 4, and you just race to whatever the point system is, and that's how you win races, and that's how you win championships. And there are guys that do that, and guys that don't. And I'm sorry, and we see it. You see it during the year. You want to talk about manipulating races? You see it all year long, where a guy will win the first segment and win the second segment to get those bonus points, just to give up a race win. He's not worried about a race win. He's just worried about getting his points. Is that manipulation? I don't know. I'm asking you people.
You keep using that word, and I can't even say it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But,
right.
We used to have a saying, or I say we, Richard, Daytona. The only way to win all the races is win the first one at Daytona. So the points, the championship starts in the first race, and it goes all the way through.
Yeah. Number one is only Christopher Bell knows. Okay? Only he knows what his thoughts were when he got to that point. Only he knows what he felt when he got to that point. Okay? What we do know is what he did. And you know that because they have the data.
Yep.
They have the data that he stepped on the gas.
And that happened to be a rule.
And he drove it off the corner as hard as he could go, wide open. Not half throttle, not quarter throttle. He drove it off the corner. That's data. Now, we can argue that data, but there it is. It's in black and white on a piece of paper. And there's a rule in a rule book that's black and white. For safety reasons, they don't allow that. So I have to say that he was wrong. That he was, and here's the thing. I'm going to say this. If the 23 really let him by, okay,
Okay.
If everybody out there wants to say that Bubba pulled over and let him go by, then if he had hit the wall and come off the wall and drove down the straightaway and just limped down the straightaway, Bubba wasn't going to pass him back.
Yeah. Once he got by him.
Yep, he was by him.
Yeah.
Bubba wasn't going to pass him back. He was home free. So in reality, if the fix was in, and if they want to use that as an argument, then all he really had to do was turn left, get off the wall, figure out a way to get off the wall, and drive down the middle of the racetrack, and he's in the playoffs. But that's not what he did.
Here's my take. I don't think it was premeditated. He rode the wall. But once he got on the wall, Kyle, he couldn't get off unless he would have really stopped the car. And that ain't the nature coming to the checkered flag.
Not.
But, okay, let's just hope there's enough drama in Phoenix to overcome this, and we won't even talk about this.
Oh, we're going to be talking about this for a long time.
Okay.